When the villagers found out Mama Odo had married a baby, they didn't know what was worse, her calm smile, the baby laughing like a grown man, or the feeling that something terrible was about to happen. It all began in a small Nigerian village tucked away between hills and thick forests. This was the kind of place where traditions held firm, where everyone knew everyone, and where even whispers carried faster than the wind. Mama Odo was a strange woman. She was old, no one knew how old, and lived alone in a small hut at the edge of the forest. She had no husband, no children, and no friends. The villagers avoided her because, well, something about her felt off. People said she talked to the wind, and sometimes the wind seemed to answer. One afternoon, Mama Odo came back from the forest with a baby in her arms. She walked straight into the market, holding the child like it was the most precious thing in the world. "Where did you get the baby?" a bold woman asked. "I found him," Mama Odo said, smiling softly. "By the stream. He is mine now." The baby didn't cry, didn't squirm, just smiled. But it wasn't the kind of smile you expect from a baby. It was wrong. The villagers whispered. Some said the baby was a gift from the spirits. Others said Mama Odo had done something dark to bring the child to her. But no one dared confront her further. Then, a week later, the impossible happened. Mama Odo threw a wedding. At first, people thought she'd finally found a husband. But when they gathered at the village square for the ceremony, their jaws dropped. The groom wasn't a man, it was the baby. The baby sat on a tiny stool, dressed in white. His chubby hands clapped together as the village elder reluctantly performed the rites. When it came time for objections, the baby raised one hand and said in a deep, echoing voice, "She is mine." The crowd gasped. Some laughed nervously, thinking it was some kind of trick. But others, those who knew Mama Odo's strange ways, felt the hair on their necks rise. Mama Odo and her baby husband moved back to her hut. The villagers decided to leave her alone. After all, if she wanted to marry a baby, who were they to judge? But things got stranger. The baby didn't grow.
Wow.
Months passed, and it remained exactly the same, small, soft, and smiling. Meanwhile, Mama Odo began to change. Her gray hair turned black. Her hunched back straightened. Her wrinkles smoothed out. Within a year, she didn't look like an old woman anymore. She looked like she was in her 20s. People began avoiding her completely. But the more they avoided her, the more bizarre things became. Goats gave birth to kids with twisted limbs. Chickens stopped laying eggs. Crops withered in the fields. At night, villagers heard laughter coming from the forest, one high-pitched, one deep and booming. Then came the arguments. Neighbors reported hearing loud voices from Mama Odo's hut late at night. Her voice, angry and desperate, and another voice, deep, rumbling, and full of menace. One night, Baba Ojo, her closest neighbor, decided he couldn't take it anymore. He grabbed his lantern and marched to her hut. He was about to knock when the door creaked open on its own. Inside, he saw the baby sitting on the floor, its glowing eyes staring straight at him. "You shouldn't be here," the baby said, its voice unnaturally deep. Baba Ojo didn't wait to find out what would happen next. He turned and ran, leaving his slippers behind. The next morning, Mama Odo stood in the market, her young face calm but her eyes burning with anger. "If anyone comes near my husband again," she said, her voice ringing through the market, "they will regret it." The villagers didn't need another warning. They stayed far away from her hut. But one man, Sola, refused to live in fear. Sola was young and braver than most. He didn't believe in curses or spirits, and he was tired of the fear that had gripped the village. One night, armed with a charm from the village priest, he snuck to Mama Odo's hut. What he saw made his blood run cold. Through a crack in the wall, Sola saw Mama Odo sitting by the fire. The baby was in her lap, whispering in her ear. But as Sola watched, the baby began to change. Its tiny arms and legs stretched unnaturally long. Its face twisted into something monstrous, its mouth full of sharp teeth. "Mama Odo," it said in its thunderous voice, "you promised me eternity." "I know," Mama Odo whispered, her voice trembling. "But the villagers, they are starting to suspect." "Let them," the creature growled. "They are nothing." "But you, Mama Odo, you betrayed me." "No, I didn't." She cried. "I kept my promise." The creature laughed, a deep, terrifying sound that filled the hut. Sola stumbled back, accidentally snapping a branch under his foot. The sound echoed like a thunderclap. Mama Odo and the creature turned to him at the same time. You shouldn't have come here, the creature said, its glowing eyes locking onto Sola. Sola didn't wait. He ran back to the village, his heart pounding, shouting for everyone to wake up. By morning, Mama Oto's hut was gone. Not burned, not destroyed, just gone. All that was left was a circle of ash and the faint sound of laughter in the wind. The villagers never spoke of Mama Oto again. But on nights when the moon was full, some swore they saw a young woman walking near the forest, holding the hand of a creature with glowing eyes. And if you listened closely, you could hear the laughter of a baby. No one ever dared to go near.